Okay, it's John Black, Super Chemist, back here again, talking about why do we have never-ending wars? You know, when I was a kid, I I always wondered, like, we'd be in a war for like 20 years and crap, like with third world country, like Vietnam, 17 years. How is that possible? How is the most the most powerful country in the world in a 17-year war with a third world country? That most people were living in huts. They didn't have electric or water, like running water and, heat. And these people fought off the biggest country in the world, the most powerful country in the world for 17 years. And we still didn't win? There was like 50,000 Americans killed in 17 years. That's like a drop in a bucket, really. That's nothing. We got 100,000 people die every year from fentanyl, just from open borders. You know what I mean? But it's not an invasion or a war. But 50, I think it was 58,000 to be exact, I think. 17 years. You know how many Vietnamese were killed? 3 million. 3 million. How's that happening? How do you kill 3 million people and you're the biggest country in the world and you still can't you still can't beat them? You still came out tied? You still lost basically? How is that possible? I used to wonder that when I was a kid. But yeah, it's a really simple, they want it to last that long. If they didn't want it, Trump is the only one who hasn't been deep state. And what happens when he does a war? Syria did something. I never looked into it, but they did something. And he was like, "Hey, okay, this is war. I'm gonna fuck you up, Syria." So he fucked them up. First, he had the deep state generals come in, Milley, saying it'll take 5-10 years to freaking or 5 years to do this Syria thing. Trump is like, what? They're a third world country. How can it take 5 years? That's like Hulk Hogan going onto the The Rock. He goes out onto a kindergarten playground and there's a 5-year-old, and The Rock is like, it's gonna take me like all year. Every day I come out and beat up on that kid. I think I'll take him. After a year of trying, I think I can take him. No, The Rock's gonna beat him up in one punch. Okay, so Trump got another lower general that said, yeah, I could do it in a week. A couple days. I don't know, maybe by lunch, you know what I mean? And it took like 3 weeks or something. They just bombed them like crazy until Syria says, oh, wait, I understand. I'm a third world country. I forgot you were the most powerful. Here, let me surrender. And that was it. That's how you save lives. Yes, he put all of his things in. He killed a lot, probably 20,000 people or something. I don't know. I'm just guessing how many. But a 5-year thing, 20,000 people wouldn't have died. 5,000 or whatever. I don't know how many people died in that first 3 weeks of Syria. But I guarantee you, if they would have did it the deep state way, the mafia elite way, that 5-year way, in 5 years, there would have been 100,000. There would have been 10 times as many people killed. That's why these people that are like, but anyways, we got to get into why, how is this possible? Well, as we know, if we watched my Federal Reserve Bank videos, they want the same people who own the Federal Reserve own the munitions and the things that you make for war, and they own the construction companies, the mega construction companies that go in after war, after they bomb everything. First they own the banks, right? The Federal Reserve. They loan the money out to the country, so they get interest off of that. So they give you debt, they get all your interest, right? So they're making money that way. Then you buy. They take the money that they printed up that they're giving to you, that they're getting interest off of. You give it back to them from all their munitions and weapons factories, right? They own them too. Then after you bomb and kill everybody they own the construction companies that go in. Then the government, like in Iraq, $2 billion. Guess it, for Halliburton. Yeah, Halliburton. What was it? Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney used to be the president right before. Dick Cheney's the president of Halliburton. Then he's vice president. A couple years later. Then they do this war, and then Halliburton gets $2 billion to rebuild Iraq from the country. But that's why they want war, right? Because they make money off of the war. Just loaning out money makes money from the interest. Then they got the factories making the war stuff, and the factories fixing the war stuff after the war, like building buildings and stuff. So how do they do it? How do they? I just said, why they want wars and why. But how do they do it? It's called one. They always have just one. It's always some simple thing. It's never some big, just like when they crash our economy, they expand the money supply, get everyone in debt, then they contract the money supply, make all the property worth pennies on a dollar. They come and buy it all pennies for the dollar. Then they expand the money supply so that all the properties go up in value. So everything they bought for a penny is now back up to where it was originally. They do that every decade. You know what I mean? 1907. Yep, they did it. 1920. Yep, they did it. 1929. Yep, they did it. It just goes on and on. 2008. Every recession and every whatever was them doing that. It's one trick pony. Anyways, the one trick pony they have, okay, and I'm sure they have other ones, but this is the main one. Rules of engagement. That's what they do. And what's funny is because we're in a demagogy right now, which means everything is, they don't care about hiding anything. In a demagogy, they don't care. We used to be in an oligarchy, right? But now we're in a demagogy, right? So everything is just, the definition of a demagogy means it's just crazy. You just do irrational stuff and you convince the public that irrational stuff is rational. And the public, for some reason, says, yeah, okay, it's rational, even though it's not. Even though a child can tell you it ain't. Somehow they just go along with it, okay? I forget what subject we're even on here. What were we on? I hate when I have like no short-term memory. It's horrible. Why we're in never-ending war. So basically, you can see it today with the Israel war, right? They funded Iran. Trump was in office. He took, no one was allowed to buy their oil, Iran's oil. He took all their money that were in banks, like $6 billion of it. He froze it. He cut them off from anything. All of a sudden, there's no terrorists anymore. There's no wars in Iran, right? Or Middle East. His entire term, even though for my entire lifetime, there's been a war in the Middle East. Not during his term, okay? His rules of engagement were, hey, go full force. Beat them down till they submit. And his war, okay, which wasn't even a war because it only lasted like 2 or 3 weeks, with Syria. And he just bombed them constantly until they said, oh, okay, whoa, I understand. You're a lot more powerful than us. We submit. We surrender. But what are the rules of engagement with Biden now, right now, today? So that Biden comes in, he unlocks the $6 billion assets, gives them, so Biden gives Iran right off the bat $6 billion. Then all the countries that Trump said you can't buy oil off of Iran, he went around and told them, buy as much oil as you can off of Iran. As a matter of fact, I'm going to shut down all the oil fields in the United States and we're going to buy off of Iran. Everyone buy off of Iran so that we can, and knowing that they're going to fund these terrorist groups, right? The terrorist groups are funded now. Now they start lobbing, what was it, whatever, October 7th or whatever it was. They lobbed over 100, whatever, bombs or rockets or whatever, right? We all know what happened, what started it, right? Now what happened after that, though? Every time Israel wants to attack, they're like, no, you can't attack this, you can't attack that. You know, like in the Vietnam War, you weren't allowed to hit any Vietnamese areas that had their munitions in it. You know what I mean? Like if they had a whole bunch of rocket launchers and guns and tanks, and you weren't allowed to, you know, it was just a supply place for their weapons. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was against the law for the military to bomb those sites. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay. Anywhere that there was like 4 or 5 rules, I don't have them off the top of my head, but they were all basically that same thing. If they had, you know, oh, the general was over here, there's a bunch of generals. No, it's illegal to, not allowed to get these areas that have generals in them. Oh, these areas that have all their weapons and munitions, no, you can't get them. No. Never ever bomb them, never. Oh, these people here, 3 million people, yeah, bomb them. You keep killing them over and over again until you get 3 million of dead Vietnamese, okay? Let's keep in mind the Vietnam War wasn't even like the other wars. At least the other wars, they faked an accident, but they actually faked, like Lusitania. They sent Lusitania into a battle zone right after Germany told us, don't go into that battle zone. Hey, we have a battle zone over here. So don't come over to our battle zone. And America says, the president, right, says, oh, okay. And this is George Bush's relative, by the way, Woodrow Wilson. He says, oh, okay. And not only that, like every country in the world was telling it. There was in newspapers and radio. Everyone was saying, don't go into this area. Germany issued a memo or whatever to the United States president. Hey, Woodrow Wilson, we have a war going on over here. Please don't come over into this area with your ships. And then what does Woodrow Wilson do? He sends Lusitania into the war zone. Obviously, Lusitania gets sunk, and everyone in America, you know, the next day they're all signing up for the army. They all want to go to war. Vietnam, they didn't, and that's the same way with Pearl Harbor. Everybody knew about it. We were warned about it. The papers, they're like newscasters. You know, everyone knew, and we instigated it too. But every war is like that. But Vietnam is different. You know, like even the Middle East with George Bush, he had to do 9/11 first, right, before he'd go in, get the mass destruction weapons out that didn't exist. Vietnam, we made it up. We said that Vietnam bombed 3 of our ships and sunk them. And that wasn't even true. Like normally they would get Vietnam to do it, or they would do it themselves, and they would bomb the 3 ships and say, look at what Vietnam... They didn't even have the balls to do that. They were so lazy, they were like, nah, don't even fake the bombings. Just say it. Just say they happened. You know, these people are stupid. You don't even have to do the accident anymore. And then a year later, it comes out, and they get caught. But they started. Then how do they keep it going on for? Rules of engagement. You know what I mean? And now, since they've been using this rules of engagement so long, and we're in a demagogy, right? They know. They tell the terrorist in Gaza that, yeah, put all your stuff that you don't want bombed next to hospitals and next to whatever, because we really had good success, you know, them not bombing your munitions and stuff in other wars, but this way we can go on national TV, and if anyone makes a mistake and does do it, we can demify them and say, look, they were just bombing they were right by a hospital. Hey, what people don't understand about Gaza is 95% of Gaza voted the terrorists in knowing they were terrorists. 95% of Gaza thinks, Jews should be hunted down and killed. 95% of them, okay? So it's not like they're innocent.